Hey, what's up there, YouTubers? It's me again, Brian, aka Gamer55551, and I am back with a video review. And for this review, we're going to be taking a look at the Wonderful 101 Remaster, as the title says, a remastered version of the Wii U Classic for the Nintendo Switch. Game is also available on the PS4 and PC via Steam. And if you're interested in any gameplay of me playing the game, I'll have a link down in the description down below, or you could click on the card that will probably appear up on this YouTube video and just go straight there. And before I begin even talking about the game, I do want to give, for case you missed it from the beginning, I want to give full disclosure, and that is, for disclosure purpose though, I did back this game on Kickstarter when it was announced, so any opinion I have about this game is my opinion and my opinion alone. I'm not being paid, sponsored, or endorsed by either Platinum, Kickstarter, or anybody in general. So I just want to get that full disclosure out of the way. Okay. In 2013, Platinum, along with Nintendo, that acted as the publisher, released the Wonderful 101. It was an interesting title. In a way, it was kind of like one part Pikmin, one part Viewtiful Joe, and one part Power Rangers / some of those old Saturday morning cartoons, like when I was little, when I watched, to be exact. Though it was an interesting title because it also utilizes the Wii U gamepad, as the game encouraged you to draw certain shapes and all for your Wonderful 101 character. So like with Wonder Red, you draw a circle, you get the fist, draw a straight line, you get the sword, draw sort of like a hammer to a certain degree, like this, and this. You get, like, the hammer, or a zigzag, you get like the Wonder Whip and all that stuff. And it was a very interesting, but also kind of a hard game to get into. In a way, it was kind of like, it was sort of tough to master to a certain degree, but there were those who did enjoy the game though. Sadly, however, the game didn't exactly become a commercial success, and there could be multiple reasons why Wonderful 101 wasn't a success. Some may point to the controls, which did have a bit of a learning curve to it that might have turned some people off to a certain degree. Others may point to the fact that Nintendo hardly even advertised the Wonderful 101, since it was at the time an exclusive for the Wii U, and Nintendo acted as the publisher, to the fact that it came out at a time where, by this point, Nintendo realized the Wii U was not going to be the success it was going to be in any way. So there could be multiple reasons why the game didn't become a success back on the Wii U, but in either way, it wasn't basically much a success. Fast forward to today, and apparently, though, Platinum, apparently today, Nintendo's in a better position with the Nintendo Switch and all that stuff, and Platinum seems to have sort of made some changes to themselves as well, as they pushed for more, publishing and all that, but they have also pushed, to get, or should I say, they've also published several titles on the Nintendo Switch, Bayonetta 2 and Astro Chain, but the Wonderful 101 was kind of interesting because that was one that they wanted to push and get out as well. Even the director, Hideki Kamiri, basically teased about how he had an idea of how to get the Wonderful 101 to work on systems like the Nintendo Switch and all. So it was interesting when one of the big surprises we learned was that they would do a Kickstarter to get people to basically fund the Wonderful 101, and they were aiming to bring it to the Nintendo Switch, the PS4, and PC via Steam. Now, this became a controversial decision for two things that came out for controversial about it. One was that it turned out to be that they made the claim that that this was basically to gouge interest into people for the Wonderful 101, and that rubbed some people the wrong way. The other was in terms of a shipping fee or certain shipping costs or something like that for basically buyers in the UK, which also didn't sit very well and all that stuff. So there were some controversies though, but the game finally has came out for multiple systems. I've been playing it on the Nintendo Switch, and while I'll say is that the game is still as fun as it was when it came out in the Wii U, but there are some quirks, and there are still that one thing that might turn some people off towards it. So why don't we get started with the pros and cons, and we'll start off first with the pros. And the first one has to do with the gameplay. As I mentioned earlier, though, the gameplay is kind of like a one part Pikmin and one part Viewtiful Joe in a way. Basically, you have all your wonders, you know, your wonderful cast, your characters and all that stuff, and you use them basically to attack, you know, the enemies and all of that stuff. Like in the original Wonderful 101 back on the Wii U, you have to draw certain shapes and all to use certain characters. Like I said before, the circle gets you the Wonder Red, the straight line, with the hand, the straight line will get Wonder Blue and the sword and all that stuff. And you use those to defeat certain type of enemies. Some enemies are weaker against basically, you know, one of the wonders and all that stuff, while some may require you to use a certain wonder, a wonder character, such as one of the big baddies that have like spikes over them. You have to use Wonder Pink and her whip and all that stuff. And some of it is also used to solve certain puzzles in a way. So the gameplay is sort of interesting and kind of fun, and also, should I say fun indeed, though. The next thing I want to talk about is the story. And the story is sort of, in a way, while cheesy to a certain degree, it has its charm. It basically feels like a part, like something you would watch from, like, say, the Power Rangers, you know, back in the day, to something like out of the old Saturday morning cartoons and all that stuff. Most likely more towards like the Power Ranger side of it, though. And it's over the top that Platinum is known for, though, but it's still enjoyable nevertheless. You know, a group of color, you know, superheroes fighting off an evil alien invasion coming to Earth and so forth. So it's over the top. Some of it you've probably have heard from other, whether you watch old episodes of Power Rangers or old Saturday morning cartoons, but it still has that charm, and it definitely still has that over the top Platinum charm that Platinum is known for, though. And last but not least, I do want to talk about the controls. Now, I'll get to the cons about the controls in just a minute, but as far as on the pros go, I will say they do work, though. I was a little skeptic about them when they were considering bringing it to the Nintendo Switch, considering that that the original Wonderful 101, I felt was more designed to utilize the Wii U gamepad in terms of the touchscreen, in terms of drawing, the shapes and all that stuff. So I was wasn't sure how that was going to work out with using, say, something like a Pro controller or a regular controller, to be exact. But I will say, it still works though. Basically, you could still be able to draw shapes using the right analog stick to draw certain shapes, and it works. Surprisingly, I was a little bit concerned, but it does work well. Another area is the fact that because you don't have the dual screen like you did with the Wii U and all that stuff, basically when you go into certain areas, you'll have two different kinds of screens. For example, there's one area where you have to solve a certain puzzle by using Wonder Red and turn the dial to reach certain numbers and all that. In the original Wii U, you had to look at the Wii U gamepad to move the character around while also looking on your TV screen to match the number that you see on your Wii U gamepad. In the Switch version, or this probably could apply to other versions as well, you'll have two screens though on your TV. One is a small one at the bottom, while you have your screen on top. The small one will show you the numbers, while the big one is where you see where you have to turn the dial to reach the certain numbers to solve a certain puzzle and all that stuff. But in either way, I will say I'm kind of surprised on this though, and that is that the controls do work despite the fact that this game was, at least from what I see, originally designed with the Wii U gamepad in mind. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, we'll get to part 2, which are the cons. So we'll take a little break, and we will be right back. Okay, and we're back with part 2 of our video review of the Wonderful 101 Remaster for the Nintendo Switch. So now that I gave you the pros, we'll get started with the cons. And there are two cons. cons that I can think of, and I think these are probably the biggest one. The first one we do want to talk about is the controls. Now, as I mentioned in the pros, though, will say that the controls do work, though. I mean, the game isn't unplayable or anything like that, but to an extent, because it still has a major learning curve, and that's where some of the drawing the shapes and all can be an issue for some people. There were times in the game, though, that I had a hard time or struggle trying to draw certain shapes with the right analog stick on the Nintendo Switch controller, especially when there are quick time events. It can be a little bit difficult at times, and there are moments when I had to do those events multiple times just to nail it down and so forth. Even during certain things like picking up certain items and all that stuff where you had to circle around it and all, it was kind of difficult. And this is where it could turn some people off in a way because of the whole drawing the shapes and all that stuff. And when compared to how it was on the Wii U, though, I would say, although the Wii U had its learning curve, I found that drawing the shapes using the Wii U gamepad was, I would say, easier than, say, doing it with the right analog stick. The controls still work. I mean, it is possible to still enjoy this game while drawing the shapes with the right analog stick, but that learning curve could be an issue for some, and that could turn a lot of people off. And the last con I want to talk about, and this one mostly applies with the Nintendo Switch version, is some performance issues, though. Now, basically, based on my time playing the game, though, the game looked like it ran pretty much at 30 frames per second and all. While that's technically not bad, it's not 100% great either, though. I mean, I won't go as far as saying that it makes the game unplayable. I haven't experienced anything that made the game like the game froze or broke or anything like that. It's just a little disappointed, though, that there are some issues where the game, sort of the frame rate isn't exactly 100% stable, and it is a little disappointing when it's at 30 frames per second, and it makes you kind of wonder why when compared to Platinum porting over Bayonetta 2, which was exclusive for the Wii U, and they brought that over to the Switch, how that one was able to run at 60 frames per second, but also it's worth pointing out, I believe resolution was at 720p, which makes you kind of wonder for the Switch version, would it have been a better choice for Platinum to rather aim for 720p on the Nintendo Switch while trying to maintain a 60 frames per second? It does make you kind of wonder, or does it make you kind of wonder if they did what Artplay did with Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, which was that they treated the Switch version as an afterthought, only after the game started to do well on the Switch that they realized, oh shit, we had to do something to fix the Nintendo Switch version, though. But like I said, the game isn't unplayable by any chance, but there are some performance issues here and there, but nothing that made the game enjoyable. It made the game unplayable in any way. Overall, the Wonderful 101 for the Nintendo Switch, while the game's also on other versions, though, it's both, I would say it's kind of both a fun and yet frustrated game at the same time. The gameplay is still enjoyable and all that stuff. Like I mentioned, one part Viewtiful Joe, one part Pikmin in a way. The story has that Platinum vibe to it, which is certainly not a bad thing. Not to mention, you definitely get a bit of a Power Rangers vibe out of it, though. And the controls surprisingly do work on, basically, especially when playing on the Nintendo Switch, considering that this was a game designed with the Wii U gamepad in mind when it originally came out back in 2013 for the Wii U, though. However, like I said in the cons, while the controls do work, there is a learning curve to it, and that could be an issue for some, especially when it comes to drawing shapes and all that stuff, and that might turn some people off to it, though. And the fact that the Switch version, as far as I could tell, although it's still enjoyable and I haven't found anything that made the game unplayable, it is a little bit unfortunate, though, that there are some performance issues here and there. And while I don't have a problem with the game running at 30 frames per second, Seeing how Bayonetta 2 ran at 60 frames per second at 720p, it does make you kind of wonder, would it have been better for Platinum to try to maybe lower the resolution while trying to aim for 60 frames per second, for at least in regards of the Switch version, compared to for what I've been hearing about the other versions that have it run at 60 frames per second though. Do I still enjoy the game? Yeah, I still enjoy it though. Some of the learning curves, I'm not bothered by this as much, but it could be a turnoff for some people. So overall, I still think Wonderful 101 is an enjoyable game though, but there are some areas that might turn some people off, that might make some people not enjoy it as much though. Yes, the learning curve is going to be an issue for some people though not as bad as the Switch version of The World Ends With You, which to me that felt like borderline unplayable, at least from my view to be exact. So my final take on it though is it's worth taking a look at the very least. Whether it's worth picking up or not, that's going to be your call. We'll have, and if somehow this does well, despite some of the controversies with the Kickstarter, we'll see if this convinces them to bring back maybe some of the other IPs that Platinum has worked on. Maybe they could find a way to bring back, say, Mad World. I would love to see that. That was to me, I enjoyed that game on the Wii U. Or Infinite Space that was originally came out for the Nintendo DS. So we'll have to wait and see, but I will say, Wonderful 101, I would say it's worth taking a look at, but I can understand how the learning curve might turn some people off, and it may not appeal to everybody out there. Okay, this concludes my video review of the Wonderful 101 Remastered for the Nintendo Switch. And again, these are my opinion. What are yours? What are your thoughts about the Wonderful 101 Remastered, though? Are you glad Platinum brought this game back? Do you think the controversy surrounding its Kickstarter is going to hurt this game, or do you don't think it's not going to do any damage to them at all, though? Do you think the controls are a bit of a learning curve, considering that this game was originally designed with the Wii U in mind, or you don't think there has really a big learning curve at all? Which version were you thinking about getting? Were you thinking about getting the PS4? Were you thinking about getting the PC via Steam? Were you getting the Nintendo Switch version? And in regards to the Switch version, do you think there are some performance issues? And if so, has that prevented you from enjoying the game, or you don't feel like that has impacted your enjoyment in regards to the Switch version at all? Do you agree with what I said in this video? Do you disagree? Do you have a difference of opinion? As always, sound off in the comment section below. Let me know what you think. And if you like this video, then I hope you hit the like button. I would appreciate it. And I hope you do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you do, make sure you hit the bell icon for notifications of any new videos I put up. Also, feel free to share this video if you want to, and feel free to donate to my channel if you like. You can do it through PayPal me or Patreon. Links will be in the description of this video. And I will see you again next time when I do another video. Hopefully that'll be soon. Until then, from Southern California, I wish you all a good day then. Bye!